Good morning. My name is Nikolaos, and I'm doing this interview here in the Amazon rainforest in Ecuador. Here is where I've been living the last 3 and 4 years, in the tropics, and I'm 41 years old. I originally come from Greece, where I was born, and I lived in Greece until I was about 18 years old. And then it was time for me to move to United Kingdom, where I went to study at university, where I've studied as an osteopath and acupuncturist, and I've lived in UK for 10 years, both studying and practicing professionally as an osteopath and acupuncturist. And then in 2010 I've returned back to Greece, where I've stayed for 10 years practicing there professionally as an osteopath again. And at 2019 and then 2020 I've relocated to Ecuador, to the tropics, to be able to live the fruitarian lifestyle more optimally. Fruitarianism for me is a philosophy that is based on the understanding of biology and morals, and it includes both a specific diet and a general natural lifestyle. So first, the diet is a diet that includes eating fruits, and by fruits I mean the mature ovary of the plants that contain their seeds, and more specifically the fruits that have an edible flesh surrounding their seed. This edible flesh, when it's ripe, is provided by nature to living beings, to mammals and birds, for food consumption, for energy, and in return the mammals and the birds disperse the seeds of the tree, of the plant. So there is a symbiotic relationship where helps the procreation and the propagation of trees and plants, and at the same time provides healthy food for the animals. So based on that procedure and based on the understanding of what fruit is biologically in nature, and its primary reason, that is to serve for food and disperse the seed, a fruitarian diet includes those fruits that contain an edible flesh, that has aroma, taste, color, that attract the senses to be eaten. And usually there are 3 categories of edible fleshy fruits that we call. One category is like the carby fruits, the fruits that contain mainly carbohydrates, such as, for example, bananas, mangoes, figs. Then there is also the category of edible fruits that contain mostly fat, and those can be the olives, can be the avocado, can be the aguaje and other fruits. And then the third category is more the vegetable type of fruits, such as tomatoes, zucchinis, cucumbers, pumpkins. So all these are fruits that contain an edible flesh and seed, and the fruitarian eats this edible flesh to sustain his life. Apart from that, that is the dietary aspect that acknowledges the life of animals and plants and selects to eat only the structure that is provided freely as food, which is the edible fleshy fruits. So respects the life of the animals by not consuming animals, and respects the life of the plants and the trees by not consuming any other parts of them instead of these edible fleshy fruits. As a lifestyle, it incorporates being close to nature, living in a natural environment like you observe around me, where it contains plenty of fruit trees, and be in contact with the natural element such as clean air, clean water, streams, springs, be in touch with the earth and the sun, and being surrounded by living structures and organisms such as animals and plants. So really, fruitarian lifestyle is living with nature, very simplistic and minimalism, and as natural as possible. I started first my journey on healthy diet and ethical diet back in 1999 when I went to UK to study, and at the university I've heard about the concept of vegetarian and vegan diet, and that we humans could meet our needs for nutrition by not having to kill other animals and exploit them and stealing their secretions like their milk and making cheese or eggs or honey, and taking their lives. So when I heard that concept, it clicked logically to me that as long as I have other options to feed myself, there is no point harming other animals and exploiting them. So in that time I became vegetarian and vegan, and I've stopped consuming any animal flesh and secretions at that time, meeting my nutritional needs through plants. So I turned from a secondary energy consumer to a primary energy consumer, feeding myself exclusively through the generators that are plants. So I followed the vegan diet, clean vegan diet, whole foods, and at about the year of 2009, 2010, I've heard the concept of raw veganism, where in that concept it emphasizes that there is no point changing the chemical structure of our food by burning it, what we call as cooking. So when a vegetable is burned, it changes its chemical structure that creates certain chemicals that are toxic and carcinogenic, that have a negative influence in our health, and also destroys some of the nutrients of the plants that we're about to consume, and that humans were only animal in nature that does this procedure of burning with fire their food. So when I realized this concept, and then I realized how more alive and colorful the fruits and vegetables looked if they were not cooked, and how much longer they will last before going bad and rotten, I've realized that I need to put alive food in me, not destroyed food, not burnt food, not rotting food, but alive, colorful, vibrant food in me for maximum energy and health and potency. So at that time, in 2012, I became completely full raw vegan, using raw vegan diet, and then exploring that path, I've realized more and more that my body was doing better eating fruits, not roots or leaves or stems or flowers, any other parts of the plants apart from the fruits. And then I've realized about the concept of fruitarianism, that there is no point to eat other parts of the plants, that they have a different primary biological reason, role, that is not food but its other role. For example, the roots have the role to bring nutrients and stabilize the plant, the trunk, the stem, that are anatomical structures of the plant, the leaves, that they are meant for, like photovoltaic, to receive energy from the sun, so they're important for the plant. And also their seeds, that their primary role is for propagation and procreation, is the embryos of the plants, and they are meant to grow new plants and create life. So their primary reason is not to serve as food. So after realizing all that, and realizing that the only structure that is given freely by the energy producers, the plants, for consumption, for food, is their fruits, and more specifically the edible flesh that surrounds their seed. So when I realized that in 2014, I've switched to a fruitarian diet, where I've started consuming just fruits. Okay, about my typical day of me here in the Amazon rainforest as a fruitarian involves having a time schedule that is based on the circadian rhythms and the biorhythm and internal clock of my organs and hormones. So I wake up around 4-5 o'clock before the sunrise, where I do some breathing exercises to prepare my body for the day, some meditation, and as the light comes out and the sun at 6 o'clock, I start with some stretching, some yoga to activate my muscles, and at 6:30 I go into the farm behind me, into the fruit forest, where I maintain the plants through permaculture, by weeding, mulching the plants, pruning the plants, taking care of the fruit trees, putting compost in them, human and fruit compost. So I work that for about 2 hours, until from 6:30 until to 8:30, where I come back. I have a quick bath at the stream next to me, at the physical stream, and then at about 9 o'clock I will have a fruit meal of juicy fruits or water, depending if I skip breakfast or not. And then I will do some working in the building structures, like cleaning the kitchen or other room areas. And at about 11 o'clock, before the midday, when the sun is going towards the peak, I have my main meal of the day, what I call lunch, about 1 hour before noon, eating like the main meal, the biggest fruit meal. After finishing that, I rest for a few hours, not sleeping I mean, but just not doing any physical activity. So by that time I will either study or check like social media and emails, and socialize with people at social media. And at about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I visit the community, the Terra Frutis community, where at the time I do some work there, helping them, and also taking part of workshops, like workshops of non-violent communication and connection circles, and other workshops, yoga. And then at about 5 o'clock I return back, where I will carry on working at the fruit forest, maintaining the land, the fruit trees, or again working at the building structures, where at that time, around 5 o'clock, the muscles are like on a peak energetic and force, or I will do more exercise, go for walks, barefoot walks, and then at about 6 o'clock, if it's a day that I will eat a meal, dinner, it will be before the sunset, 1 hour before the sunset, and it will be the lightest fruit meal of the day. So when it's at sunset, I will meditate, and when it starts to getting dark, then I will either socialize with, again in the community, with like-minded people, chatting, discussing various subjects, or playing games, or watching a documentary. And then at about 8:30, 9 o'clock, I will do a bedtime stretching, a yoga, and prepare for meditation and sleep. So I sleep around after 10 o'clock, where the melatonin secretion starts to happen. And yeah, and then I usually have deep sleep until the next day, as I said, around 4 o'clock, where I woke up. When I started following the fruitarian diet, my life changed. I experienced mentally a lot more clarity. The confusion and fogginess disappeared. My senses became very clear, so I could receive the stimuli very clear mentally and feel them, and I was able to interpret what was happening around me with more, as I said, efficiency, clarity of mind. And I've also noticed that my feelings became more stable. I didn't have much ups and downs. They became stable. My tone of voice changed, became more calm. I was able to control certain feelings better, like anger, for example, or sadness. Any form of negative thoughts was able to switch them to solutions and more positive thoughts. And I've noticed I was mentally less attached to negative situations and drama, and I had the tendency to get away from that and seek on solutions instead of being stuck to the negative stimuli that happened. Also, I was able to connect with others mentally, to focus on what they were saying, their feelings, their needs. It was less about myself and more about what was happening around me, to other living beings, to other animals, plants, and humans, and I felt more that I was part of the environment, being a fruitarian. Also, another big change was like it brought me closer to nature. Before I was living in a city, in a house, in a job, where in a small office environment, practice environment, and like in a cage, trapped in a city, in four walls. A lot in technology, and that completely changed when I became a fruitarian. Sticking to fruitarian diet after a few months and a year, then it brought me more closer to nature. I started to feel nature and trees and plants as an earth and sun and streams and water as my home. That was the environment I could thrive. When I was in four walls in the city, non in contact with these natural elements, alive natural elements that I described, my mood was getting down. I was feeling more depressed, and my need of life could not be met. So the longer I stayed in pure fruitarian diet, the longer I couldn't live in a city. I wanted to get out in nature, to experience clean air, clean water, the earth, the sun, the alive fruits and animals and plants around me, be surrounded by them, and of course eating fresh fruit, ripe from the trees. And it also made me realize how important it is to grow my own food. So the necessity to look after fruit trees that I have planted and take care of daily, and I harvest from them fresh fruits daily. So that part changed my whole perception to get away from these situations. And that's what made me leave beautiful Greece, friends, family, successful business and practice there, and very well established financial situation. I left all that to come to the tropics, to Ecuador, to be in nature, experience the natural elements, have warmth, have fresh fruits, have sun all year round, stable day and night, light and darkness, sunset, sunrise, to get in tune with the biorhythms and the circadian rhythms. So relocating to the tropics was a necessity for me. So mentally it changed completely my perceptions being a fruitarian. And physically I felt more light, my body lighter, most of the day energetic. I had, as I said, stable emotions. I felt happier, more content, and various aches and pains and inflammations and stiffnesses in my body disappeared. I've noticed improvements on my hair quality and skin quality, and also my digestion became a lot more efficient and easy. My sleeps my sleep went lighter, not nightmares or disturbed sleep. I started sleeping earlier and getting deeper sleep, like feeling more rejuvenated after it. Even if I slept less hours, I will feel more energetic and more rejuvenated after the sleep. I've lost some weight, and I don't feel as in some ways as strong muscularly as I used to feel, but I feel more like stamina, like for longer working or walking or hiking. So I felt an improvement on that. And yeah, physically overall I feel that I'm healthier. Yes, I've noticed being a fruitarian, I'm getting well with all people, not just people who are in the same diet and lifestyle. As it cleared my mind and my sensing, and I became less violent and more content in my life. I found that I was able to connect more peacefully and humanely and with other people, other humans and animals around me, and I am able to empathize with them more and understand them more and understand their feelings, their needs and their points. So it improved a lot my relationships with others, being a fruitarian. And of course with like-minded people I connect more because we share the same interests and same lifestyle and similar routines during the day and hobbies in such sense, activities I mean. Yeah, although in certain aspects my social life changed a lot, I don't participate in in activities other people might participate, like in night clubs and loud concerts and extreme sports or partying or eating animal flesh and alcohol and taking substances. So or watching television, all these parts, like they are not part of my daily lifestyle, but on other activities I've noticed like increased socialization, like discussions with other people, hearing their needs and feelings, and also taking part in natural activities, going for hikes, for swimming, for walks, visiting natural sightseeing and forests with them, and also eating fruits and yeah, experiencing nature with others. It improved in this sense my social life. And yeah, like some music, acoustic music, live music with acoustic instruments like guitars, for example. So all that I notice socialization, my social life became better, and my connection and my communication. And I'm glad that I follow this fruitarian diet and lifestyle that allows me to experience that. As I see fruitarian diet as an extension of the vegan diet and the raw vegan diet, I also see fruitarianism as an extension of the veganism. So veganism is not just a diet, but it's a lifestyle that tries based on philosophy and morals. It's a human concept that, in my understanding, someone, when it follows that philosophy, tries to avoid the harm and the exploitation of other animals and living beings to meet his needs as far as it is practicable and possible. So yeah, I now try to meet as much as possible my needs as human, with minimizing the harm and the exploitation I do around me. Mostly come as a direct actions that I can control myself, and that involves the diet, the clothing, the transportation, and generally different actions in my life that I try to minimize the direct harm and exploitation of other living beings. I'm still recognize that like killing and exploiting, there is always happening, there is always there. We cannot completely avoid it 100%, especially living here in nature, taking care of a fruit forest and fruit trees. Yeah, you might end up, for example, killing ants or other animals around you, or insects, or so you cannot avoid harm 100% as a living being, but as a human, following veganism, I have the choice to minimize it as much as is possible and practical. Yeah, I still acknowledge that there is a lot of indirect harming happening still by using technology and machines and fuels, and but we all have to start from somewhere, I believe, and for me veganism starts with the direct actions, what we directly do daily, what we put in our mouths, what we wear as clothes in our body, how we act daily, not to avoid the harm, the direct harm. And as the percentage of vegans increase in our society, hopefully we will find ways to minimize also the indirect harm we cause around us, and start living more symbiotically with all living beings around us, including the plants and the trees too, not just the animals. I don't think that humans are made or designed to or evolved to eat meat. And the reason for that is that first, raw meat without being burnt, cooked, raw is not something that appeals to humans in their senses, in their taste, in their vision, in their smell, in their touch, usually we find it appalling, like seeing the blood. So, and also we lack the equipment to hunt down like animals and eat their flesh. We don't have strong enough nails, claws. We don't have, our mouth is not designed to rip the flesh of the animal and chew it. And our teeth are not have the, like the canines, they are not meant to rip the flesh, and it doesn't appeal to our senses, as I said, and that and the taste is something that is not, we don't usually consider it tasteful, the raw meat and the raw animal secretions. So as it doesn't, we don't lack the anatomy and to rip the animals and kill them and eat them like other carnivorous or omnivorous animals do. I don't think we are designed and evolved to eat meat. I think humans ended up eating meat out of necessity, out of survival, when they didn't have other choices around, when they started exploring the fire and burning their food, that allowed them to make the meat and the fat of the meat more appealing, destroying a lot of the parasites, and yet make it more appealing to their senses. But again, it is a practice that I believe it came out of necessity for survival and not out of necessity of because we are designed to eat meat. We just didn't have any other options, and we ended up eating meat, not starving, and then using fire we became addicted to it and adapted to it, and we tolerate it for thousands of years, and that's the reason we carry on consuming animal flesh. That's what I think, and that's what I believe. It's not something that we need, it's something that we might choose to eat or not choose to eat. Although nowadays society, from my understanding, have not accepted yet scientifically, the nutritionist consensus does not accept generally the pure fruitarian lifestyle as being healthy. For example, the consensus of the scientists of nutrition like 50, 60, 70 years ago didn't accept the vegan diet as healthy. And nowadays the science changed, and now nutritionists accept that a diet of vegetarianism and veganism can be healthy, even raw veganism, as long as also includes certain supplements like B12. So for example, we see the scientific consensus changed from the last 30, 40, 50 years regarding veganism and vegetarianism. So, although now it doesn't accept the pure fruitarian diet as a possible healthy diet long term, I believe that it is something that it could change in the future, like it happened with the vegan diet. In 10, 20, 30 years, I don't know, the more fruitarians they start to exist, more samples will be able to be gathered, more data for scientists to reach to a conclusion that a pure fruitarian diet under certain circumstances and lifestyle and parameters can be a healthy option for humans too. So I hope that it will happen. Until then, I'm glad that scientists now accept the vegetarian and vegan diet and the raw vegan diet being healthy diets. And also the positive thing is, because I read the guidelines, the nutritional guidelines of developed countries like the United States and Europe, and each 5 years that they're updated, they include more fruits and vegetables, more raw fruits and vegetables in the recommendations for the healthy diet. So it looks like that nutritional science is including more raw foods, more raw fruits and vegetables, and I think this is a step towards the healthy and right direction that eventually will include also fruitarian diet as a healthy long-term option. I acknowledge that at the moment the nutritional science thinks that a pure fruitarian diet long-term might become deficient of certain nutritional elements like vitamin D, B, protein and others, and my answer to that is that, for example, the vitamin D we can receive from the sunlight, and if someone lives in the tropics where there is sun all year round and direct sun, stronger sun, then hopefully they will meet their needs or vitamin D as fruitarians. About the B vitamins, I believe if people eat their fruits fresh, harvested, ripe, from nutritional rich soils, through permaculture, so they grow their own fruits and eat them fresh. Those contain a lot more of nutritional elements and vitamins and calcium. When the soils are rich, the fruits are rich in those nutritional elements. And also, if we follow a lifestyle in nature, where we live more minimally and more healthy overall, we lose hopefully less nutrients, so our needs might be not as high as when we live in stressful environments like cities and polluted environments. That is another factor. And also, like for example, if we are more in touch with the soil, drinking water from springs and streams, natural springs, not chlorinated waters. That also by being touched the soil or drinking some of water, we might be able through that to have some B12 through natural means, or if not, having a supplement in B12 might be an option for fruitarians. So I believe there are ways on pure fruitarian diet to avoid deficiencies, as long as someone lives in nature, as I said. Also about the protein, I believe that maybe we don't need as much protein as it is emphasized nowadays. And the reason I'm saying that is because the human milk, the mother's milk, is low in protein. The protein percentage it has is similar to the protein fruits have, around 6 to 8% of their calories come from proteins in milk, or lower, 4 to 6 to 8% max. So this is usually the fruits have the same type of percentage that mother's milk. So if mother's milk has this percentage in a period where the newborn baby needs protein to grow, it's in a rapid growth state, the tissues grow. So maybe this percentage is all we need in the rest of our lives, and this percentage is something that fruits have. So I'm not concerned much about the protein myself as a long-term fruitarian. And as I said, I've noticed multiple health benefits practicing fruitarianism for years, pure fruitarianism. There was a period when I was living in Greece, in Europe, in winters, where I didn't have fresh fruits, where I didn't have exposure to sun and natural elements, and also it was cold, very cold, and snow, living in four walls with central heating, with no clean air, with no fresh fruits, with pollution in the city. I lost a lot of weight, and yeah, I had some problems. So in the fruitarian diet is important to maintain a certain body mass index and certain weight for functionality. So that was the problem I experienced, and I believe it wasn't because of the fruitarian diet, it was because of inappropriate application of the fruitarian diet, because of the lack of the fresh fruits and the calorie-dense fruits and the fatty fruits, and the lack of being exposed to nature. Apart from that, when I came to the tropics, my health improved rapidly. I gained weight. I maintain now my weight, and I don't experience any health problems.